This is the continuation of that video 5 because it was interrupted. I think it was too long, but I still have something to say. And what I want to say still is this. Before coming to my conclusion, continuing with what I said about the further development of thinking through the presuppositions disciplinary knowledge provides with its knowledge bodies. Non-Eurocentric thinking, as I said, develops this disciplinary thinking towards politically constructed presuppositions, political views one has to have before thinking, through which one creates theories which carry thereby a political mission. Based on political racisms. The political racism is to subsume all humans living anywhere under their nationality. Non-Eurocentric thinking does not critique that. It doesn't say this is violating what people's interests are. It even makes these their political subordination under nothing else but a representative of their nation state. It makes this the way, the presupposition, the idea, however you want to call it, through which thinking about anything in the world must construct its theories. It is not so difficult to notice from here that these theories are theoretical representations of nationalism. Theorizing through these views of nothing else but politically constructed presuppositions is a way of thinking that creates politically constructed theories carrying a political mission, a mission of the nation states. My next point is, by doing this, theories, non-Eurocentric theories, or decolonized theories, propagate theories which demarcate people from each other via nothing less but their nationality. They say, here these people are Arabs, there are Europeans. And it ennobles nationalism as a way of creating not nationalistic prejudices about the world, but this is a way of creating scientific theories about the world. What they do is to provide the world with theories which present the interests of their nation states, which do in fact have a substantial interest in the demarcation of one state to the next, because that is the substance of their rivalries, their hostility against each other. And what decolonized thinking is doing is it presents the demarcation interests of nation states for their rivalries, hostilities with other nation states, with theories, with social thought that presents this demarcation of people against each other as representatives of nothing else but their nation states. It presents this as a finding about the nature of these people. Another point, which is somehow a kind of theoretical revenge of not criticizing any theory of the Europeans, but to apply their way of thinking to this way of thinking everywhere across the world, and to argue that this thinking must represent the political entities of other political entities than the Europeans. The irony is, if you look at the quotation, it is somehow it's somehow breathtaking. But it is inevitable. If your theorizing is targeted at demarcating people as national representatives from each other, the way you conceptualize these humans in your disciplinary theory here in sociology, the irony is that this decolonized knowledge, these non-Eurocentric theories, create images about the Europeans and the non-Europeans that somehow couldn't be more racist than ever anybody accused of Eurocentrism could ever do. What are in these quotations the people? The people, firstly, are all presented as idealized citizens. If you remember the quotation, it argues, as a sociologist, about this dichotomy of citizens and societies, of individuals and societies. I don't want to go into much details here, why this is the dualism that in fact is founding this discipline, sociology. I will discuss this in another presentation. But it is interesting that this guy doesn't even notice that he firstly, in the new approach that the Arab researchers somehow try to develop as an approach that allows to understand the Arab societies, this new approach called conflict And what was it? Sorry, I have to look. Where is it? Where is it? Conflict and balance. Conflict and balance. Conflict and balance. Do you notice? Individual and society presents the character of capitalist societies, the individualized person finding its way always against the society. That's why there is this opposition. It's not phrased like that. It's not, say, against society, but the end only makes sense if you imply a but. Because otherwise you would just say the society of individualists or individuals or whatever. But there is always this and society. So a society that coincides with the aims of the individuals is something these people cannot imagine. And they cannot imagine that because they take this opposition between the individuals and everybody else, the society. On the other hand, this way of constructing a capitalist society with the competitors, with people all arguing and fighting against each other, that's what this science, sociology, takes as the nature of humans. And since they are all capitalist societies, they all operate with exactly this assumption or this idea that the nature of the capitalist society must be the nature of humans, and as this nature constitutes sociology. The alternative, what was it? Conflict and balance. The alternative of conflict and balance is nothing else but the translation of the tensions between individual and society into the process of their relations. So, there are always conflicts between individuals and the need for a balance in order to constitute a society from these competing subjects. In other words, the alternative to individual and society is a variation of it. And that is not a coincidence, because these people take so much the nature of the capitalist society as the nature of humans that they have no other interpretations of this society, if it is human, than to create variations of the same assumptions that constitutes this discipline, sociology. So, the irony is that the alternative to the Western, the European model of theorizing is the same, a variation of it. And this is not all. Indeed, based on this, what do they say? Why this model of individual and society is not suitable? Unbelievable, but they say it. Because they say the Arab is an immature European. Strange, isn't it? So, they are the ones who generate the racist prejudice about the Arab people. And just like the Europeans considered everybody as on its way to civilization, as they called it, to become citizens, members of nation states, of capitalist societies. If you share this society model and consider your definition as a basis of your discipline the nature of capitalist humans and their society as the nature of humans, well, then you inevitably end up in making everybody in the world a representative of this society, so that you repeat suddenly exactly what the colonizers were always telling you about individuals in the colonies. They were immature, not yet members of civilization. And unbelievable but true, this guy advocating non-Eurocentric thinking and a particular Arab approach to theorizing presents humans living in the Arab world as non-mature Europeans. To come to my last point. Freeing disciplinary thinking from colonized views on the world means to introduce views constructed to nation-state entities, nationalism, political demarcations of people from each other as representatives of their nation-states. Here the European, there the Arab. Here the German, there the British. It constructs this nationalism as a cognitive instrument for creating theories about this world of nation-states, thus providing the nation-states with the substance of their demarcation from others. It is this shift in social sciences, this shift from scientifically constructed prejudices for thinking towards politically constructed prejudices for thinking. Prejudices which all represent political racisms. If you haven't noticed it yet, this constructing theories through political racisms and presenting this as the nature of these humans, constructed as these representatives of nation-states. This presented as their human nature. This is what constitutes the new way of thinking called culture. This is the birth of cultural theories. Both culture as an object of thinking, but more than that, culture as a perspective through which you construct theories. That is why and how culture became a theoretical approach across all the social sciences. It provides this way of thinking, constructing theories through nationalities and demarcating people via, as they phrase it, their culture, which consists of exactly nothing else but these political racisms. It provides these nation states with the ideologies they need for their demarcation policies. Some final remarks. As a consequence of this way of constructing theories through political racisms, to make it short, there is no discourse anymore possible between those theories. It's obvious. If a theory is a representation of a national racism, that means of a way people are constructed and seen as naturally representing their political bodies, their nation states, as part of their nature. And theories are nothing else but representing this. Articulations of the nationality of people, called culture. Then you cannot argue anymore. You can just inform yourself about how others are. And there is no debate. There is also no discussion. There is also no critique between theories anymore. Because a critique in this way of thinking is immediately considered as an attack, as questioning your nature. Cultural theorists are aware about the racisms they create. And because they are so aware about it, they create these political racisms and become worried. And ask people for being tolerant. Accept it. So they fuel the demarcation of people from each other via their nationality, and they know what it means, and tell the very people whom they persuade to consider themselves as this kind of creatures, representatives of national attitudes, and tell them, don't attack the other one, tolerate them. So the discourse is between sciences is no longer possible. And if you have a look at conferences or anywhere where people discuss their theories, you will find out there are no debates between theories, because there cannot be any debates, because you must share the nationality, the culture, they would say. You must share the political entity through which your theories are constructed. To interpret the world through these presuppositions, you must share them. You must not only share them theoretically, you must be part of them. Only if you are European, you can understand European theories. And if you see or read any kind of theory which, in this way of interpreting the way you create views about the world, if you are seeing, reading, or whatever, an Arab, or whatever these political entities are, mostly dreamy, absurd political entities, such as the Asian, or this kind of nonsense, or the West, and so on and on. You can only share this theory if you share this presupposition. So, if you are a European, you can understand. And if you are an Arab, you can understand. But if you are not, there is no way to understand each other anymore. Even in the way in the world of theories. Because the theories are constructed through these political racisms. The discourse is finished. Thanks to the decolonization of thinking. Secondly, and that's my final point, since scientific thought, scientific theories have been made representations of political racisms, of demarcating characteristics of humans constructed through their belonging to political entities. To all those nation states, they all belong to the world of nation states and a way of theorizing that provides this world of nation states with what these thinkers called their identity. These theories, constructed through these political racisms, are so much, what else, political views on the world, that they lose what constitutes a scientific view different from a political point of view. Since they have been made theories, scientific theories, since they have been made, scientific theories have been made, the outcome of thinking through politically constructed presuppositions. They are all politically presupposed views about the world. With the consequence, if there is no longer a distinction between political views and scientific theories, scientific theories have lost their position in any political discourses because they have thrown overboard what constitutes and distinguishes scientific views from political views. Whatever the way is, theories are, or better to say, were constructed through this disciplinary knowledge. They were claiming, in which way ever, they were claiming to be scientific judgments based on whatever kind of objectivity. Decolonizing the social sciences and advocating the political locations through which theories must be produced and which theories are representatives of throws overboard what constitutes scientific thought as a distinctive way of presenting your views about the world. And after it has been thrown overboard, they threw themselves overboard as a distinctive position in political debates. With the consequence, nobody cares about what social science thinkers have to say anymore, because they anyway only repeat in a different way, in a critical way, what they consider as representing their political bodies, their nation states. In this point, they have different views, the politicians and the scientists. But since the scientific view is constructed in the same way based on the political presuppositions, they cannot claim any having any other kind of knowledge than anybody else has. They extinguished by this science as a particular voice in political discourses. That's all. And my next presentation will be about the epistemological reasoning for creating theories through space. That is, theoretical reflections which provide the epistemological foundation for what European centrism does. Why this is a necessity of the nature of thinking through space. That is my next presentation. Okay, that's will be then video number, what? 5, 6, I don't know. I have to count and I will say this later. Okay, that's it.